Okay, let's take a look at what happened last week. We had our chance, guys. Greg came out and basically had a perfect Week 18.
Great week,
You
Greg.
lost only one game. He's 4 up on Patrick with 13 games to go. I think this means he gets a pizza party. Little Caesars, we'll hook it up. I probably should have checked with them first, but I said it. I've said it on live television now, so it has to happen. Yeah. Greg, any words?
I miss pizza parties. No speech. Don't try to jinx me. And don't try to say this news that I had a good week through such gritted teeth.
I'm not gritted at all. Look, we're twinsies today. I'm just trying to get a little bit of this magical winning power to rub off. All right, let's start picking some games here. Let's start with the Seahawks-Niners. San Francisco won both games in the regular season. Patrick, I'm going to start with you. Will they make it a clean sweep this weekend?
They came out, and the pass rush was a real problem in that first matchup. Abraham Lucas and Charles Cross were playing in their second NFL game. Nick Bosa had 5 quarterback hits on Geno Smith. Then we fast forward towards the end of the season. Yes, Bosa does get 1 sack, but he hits Geno 3 times. I think having 2 tackles that are both young, they're going to get better. It's not like they're going to be worse. I think the Seahawks do cover, but they lose 21 to 24.
There's confidence in there.
The Seahawks defense, honestly, they've given up almost 500 more rushing yards after contact than the 49ers have given up just plain rushing yards all season. I can't take the Seahawks in this one because of that defense, but I do think they get the cover.
This is a much closer score than I would have
Right.
thought.
I would take that. As someone who wants good things for Geno Smith,
sure.
I would take that. I don't have it as close. I have the 49ers winning this game 34-17. The thing I want most for Geno is time. And you're right, Patrick, the tackles got better, but on the interior, that's where the problem was in the second matchup. Geno Smith had no hope, and the Seahawks aren't really good at the things that could possibly beat the 49ers, like quick game and screen game, and they want to throw the ball deep down the field, and Geno Smith can only get that done if they have time. Kenneth Walker can only run if he has some room to operate, and I just don't expect it. Arik Armstead came back late in the season, made a huge difference. They're great with their stunts. They're just big and scary, and I don't like the 49ers. I'm just sick of them just beating up on everyone, especially the Seahawks. I think it's a terrible match.
34-17, such a mean score.
Mine's almost as mean. I have 28-17. I think that this game is going to come down to all of the different weapons at Brock Purdy's disposal, or maybe I should say at Kyle Shanahan's disposal. And we don't really talk enough about Eli Mitchell, who since the beginning of last season has averaged 4.2 yards after contact per rush against stacked boxes. So you've seen Brock Purdy use lots of shifts and motions. In fact, he has 12 touchdowns using those, which leads the league since week 13. And when I'm watching this, it's like, well, now you've got Eli Mitchell as well. So you got to remember, in a game where there's potentially torrential downpours and lots of bad weather, the run game's going to be even more important. We already know what Christian McCaffrey can do. So you've got the duo now of Christian McCaffrey and Eli Mitchell. So that's what I'm looking at.
You know, since this might be the last time we get to talk about Geno on the show, and you and I have loved talking about the Seahawks all season long, I just want to take a little walk down memory lane. Okay, I don't even remember what week it was because it feels so long ago now. So much has happened, but the Seahawks went on a 4-game winning streak. Greg, do you remember this? We were Geno this, Geno that. We were even talking about their defense at times. The Seattle Seahawks.
It was fun.
In this economy.
It was so long ago.
And then they went to Munich and they lost to the Bucs, and it's just not been the same ever since. So I'm going to take the 49ers as well. But in the same tone as Patrick, I am keeping it a little bit closer. I think they are going to cover. The Seahawks posted this really wholesome post the other day. All these kids from the Seahawk region wrote letters and drew pictures, and one of them was just like, just try your best. Even the kids don't believe in the Seahawks. They just go out there and have fun. But the 49ers are probably going to win 27-20. Okay, it is time to play this guy or that guy. Greg, the line is 1.5 touchdowns for Geno and Purdy. Who is more likely to go over? This is a fun question.
Well, I'm going both are going over. No way I'm going Geno under. I think Purdy is more likely because I have them scoring 34 points. Even in the rain, he gets the ball out of his hands quickly, and I think Kyle Shanahan will look at replacement middle linebacker for the Seahawks, Tanner Muse, and think, that's the guy I'm picking on this week with passes over the middle, whether it's to George Kittle or whether it's to the running backs. He always picks 1 or 2 guys. Maybe it's Jonathan Abram. Remember the Raiders safety now playing snaps for the Seahawks. Kyle Shanahan will pick on the mismatch. Purdy gets a couple touchdowns.
Cynthia Kittle went off in Week 15 against the Seahawks. Who is more likely to have over 45 receiving yards in this game, Kittle or Brandon Ayuk?
Well, you said 45, and I'm saying both in this one. Ooh. Even though I do think that maybe we should talk a little bit about the secondary for the Seahawks. They could be getting a little bit healthier. They could have the safety back. Obviously, it's really better for them if they have Ryan Neal. We have a good picture of him like stopping George Kittle, but I don't think that happens in this matchup. 45 yards is just too few. I think both of them surpass it.
Okay,
The Lions
Patrick.
in this game. That's what we need.
You need the Lions in this game?
That would have been really fun.
Yeah.
But wait, it would have put up a fight. Come on, believe. Patrick, on the flip side, you've got Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf, who has over 61 receiving yards.
Well, like Greg and Cynthia, I wish I could take both here, but the 49ers are very good. And I will take DK Metcalf because the way that DeMeco and the 49ers approached him in the last game, it was a lot of Jimmy Ward one-on-one. And I think DK is more likely to get one big play. Tyler Lockett, of course, open deep a whole lot, playing with 9 fingers, essentially. Still great, but if I had to pick one, I would take DK Metcalf in this because I think he's going to get more singled-up coverage.
Sin, real quick, Greg mentioned the rain. Do you have like a rain adjustment in your model? Does the model say like, smells like rain, and then it does?
Usually teams with good defenses have the advantage in that matchup, which means especially defensive fronts, because the most likely time for something bad to happen is either when the ball is snapped or when the ball is caught. So if you can stop the pass, you have a major advantage.
The model's doing everything. It's doing it all, folks. Okay, moving on to this next game. Back in Week 3, the Jags blew the doors off the Chargers, 38-10. The biggest win for Jacksonville in 5 seasons.
Wow.
That's actually crazy. The offense had over 400 yards, held the Chargers to a season-low 26 yards rushing in what was also one of Justin Herbert's worst games of the season. It's time to talk who's punching their ticket, presented by Ticketmaster. Patrick, the Chargers are favored in a close one on Saturday night. Do you agree with the desert here?
I do not agree with the desert here. I think the marquee player for me in this game is going to be Travis Etienne. He's having a great season, over 5.1 yards per carry. You know who else is having a great season running the football?
Who?
Literally anybody playing the Los Angeles Chargers. They have given up 5.4 yards per carry this season. Barry Sanders only hit that number once in his career. NFL MVP seasons by Terrell Davis, Emmitt Smith, LaDainian Tomlinson, they never hit 5.4 yards per carry. Essentially, you're a Hall of Famer if you're playing the 2022 Los Angeles Chargers at the running back position. I have the Jags winning by 2 in a fun game, but if you can't stop the run, I'm not going to pick you on the road in the playoffs.
You know what happens when you can run the ball really effectively?
What's that?
You can use play action really effectively, too. And you know what the key for our quarterback, his hair is so beautiful, Trevor Lawrence, it's play action. When play action has been working for him, that has been like this trick, the secret, and that's been how they've been each game. It seems like it's a different pass catcher that they're targeting. Sometimes it's Christian Kirk, sometimes it's Evan Ingram, but ultimately it is the play action, especially missing their left tackle. Obviously, pressure is going to be a big factor. In that last matchup, they didn't necessarily have to see as much of a Bosa. He did not play that game, or he left early from that game with an injury. But I think if you can keep it nice and easy, that's how the upset happens. 1 point upset. Just one.
This really is the hair battle. It's not just Trevor Lawrence. Justin Herbert's got
They've all got.
I mean, you and Trevor,
locks as
hair-wise,
well.
have some similarities, and that's a compliment, to
you.
both of you.
That really is.
Really?
I
feel complimented.
I am taking the Chargers in this game. It's partly out of self-interest. I don't want to hear all offseason that Mike Williams' injury, he's not playing in this game, is the reason the Chargers. I just can't deal with the discourse. So I want to imagine a word that Justin Herbert overcomes it all. And you know what? He can do it. He is the chosen one. You look at Trevor Lawrence and people think he's the god, right? He's the #1 overall pick, Trevor Lawrence. He does all the things well. No, Justin Herbert's been a better player since the moment he entered the league. In a matchup like this where I don't think there's much separating these two teams, similar defenses, similar offenses, I'm going with Justin Herbert. I choose him. Rachel chose him before the season when she was looking for a team.
Don't bring me into this.
He can do special things on the move in a way that I don't think Lawrence can. He wouldn't have just had 1 first down in his last 5 drives like the Jaguars did a week ago. I trust Justin Herbert to save us from a terrible discourse all off.
Some may say Trevor Lawrence has overcome more in the last season. The coach he had last season, he's younger. Greg, I was with you this morning, but I've changed my mind.
You picked the Chargers before the season.
I've changed my mind. It is now Yes, Greg. I'm going Jags, 27-24. They've been so fun the last few weeks watching these guys. I know that Trevor Lawrence has improved a lot. Right before the bye, he kind of started making these changes. He's looked way better. He's also matured. I was watching him in like a post-game presser last week, and I was just like, he has like grown 5 years in the last 12 months. He's going to lead his team here, 27-24. First playoff game in Jacksonville since 2017. You love to see it. It's time to pick the game. Greg, the spread's almost 2 touchdowns. Ay, ay, ay. Can Miami keep it close, or do you expect the Bills to pull away?
I think the Bills win this game easy because of their defense and because Skylar Thompson is starting for the Dolphins. If Teddy was starting, I'd give them a chance.
Story.
Josh Allen, on the other hand, is starting for the Bills. And last week, I think he got back to world's destroyer Josh Allen mode. It sort of got lost in the shuffle because of the kickoff returns and because the game was very competitive when the Bills had the ball and the Patriots had the ball and everything. But Josh Allen played one of the best games I think any quarterback's played all season. He had 6 or 7 throws in that game that were just outrageous, and it reminded me of Week 18 a year ago against the Patriots, and then the playoff run that Josh Allen went on. I think he's healthier. I think he's throwing the ball better. He's going to run the ball more, and I just do not want to get in this dude's way at this time of year.
27-11.
Okay, so I have right now an 11-point win in this. So when I'm looking at this one, 29-18, I think that the Dolphins are going to have to do some YOLO things here to kind of figure out what's going on, which means we saw in their first matchup, they blitzed Josh Allen a ton. We saw in their second matchup, they didn't. So I think Dawson Knox, who's had a touchdown reception in 4 straight games, is going to be another crucial factor here, because if they're going to do some wild YOLO things on this defense, then like blitz or bring an extra rusher or show some disguises, things that maybe we haven't seen before, like go to your resourceful outlet, that guy that's been so absolutely stable for you, especially over the past 4 games. So I love Dawson Knox in this matchup. I like a lot of people in this matchup.
Love Dawson Knox.
Well, he scored 4 touchdowns in 4 games.
You're right, too. You're right, too.
That's right. I'm right. Thank you.
Yeah. Cynthia is right. I agree with Cynthia, except I'm going to shave a couple points off that 9 for me in this one, because honestly, this matchup is depriving us of what we really enjoyed the first 2 times with Tua Tagovailoa on the field. This is a much better football team. Severe hampering of the offense without him. And I'm looking at a Buffalo team that's probably going to lean on that top 10 rushing attack a lot in this one. And we've seen a lot of James Cook in the past few weeks. His snap percentage has gone up every single week. He's actually out-touched Devin Singletary in weeks 17 and 18. Was it because it was late in the season? Was it because he's come on? He's on the field. That's all I know. I think we're going to see a heavy dose of him and Singletary as well. Maybe a little Josh Allen, not too much, but low scoring game. Bills win it 26-17.
I agree with you, Patrick. It's such a bummer that we're not able to enjoy Tua out there. He's so much fun to watch. I'm glad he's not playing, though. I'm going to take Bills 30-21. I will say, I mean, like, you know, betting on a backup quarterback in the regular season is one thing. Betting on them in the playoffs against a Bills team that got their playoff dreams ripped away from them by a coin last season, they are going into this postseason with, like, oh my goodness, everything that they've been through in the last 2 weeks, and then the memory of that last season. I have the Bills going all the way to the Super Bowl and maybe even winning the whole thing. They should be terrifying to everybody that they meet in the next few weeks. So Bills all the way.
NFC North champs. You know the Vikings came to play. Close games, last second wins, still they made a way. Playoff ready, locked in if we had to play today. Minnesota, the time is right now, we can't delay. We focus for playoffs, it's safe to say. Justin Jefferson holding up major weight. Just throw it up to him, I promise he'll make a play. A highlight reel for JJ's a regular day. Kirk Cousins is a legend, but let me explain in case you don't want to accept it. Down 33 to the Colts, he sent the message. And 460 yards later, led his team to the biggest comeback on record. Dalvin Cook's been living up to his last name. Cooking defense, treating the field like a fast lane. Can't count on Minnesota, you should know. The Super Bowl, the Vikings only go. Score!
Very nice. It is time for Tip of the Cap, presented by New Era. Patrick, you have picked the Vikings every week since Thanksgiving.
Whoa.
Every single week,
Hey.
Patrick has been on the Vikings. Are
Kirk
you
guy.
going to do it again?
Yes, I'm going to do it again. Skull, everything. And here's something people need to understand about Kirk Cousins. People love to get jokes off. It's one of Twitter's
easy.
favorite things to do.
Yep.
Jokes are good. It's not necessarily reality. People, oh, what time's the game? Kirk Cousins is Kirk Cousins. He's going to perform. And what he did a few weeks ago when Wink Martindale was blitzing all of the time, he comes out, goes 14 to 21, has over 120 passer rating, and throws 2 touchdowns in a comeback win in the fourth quarter. Kirk is Kirk. The Vikings win 24 to 19. They do it again.
Easy.
Well, I'm actually going to call for the upset here. I'm very popular in Minnesota these days. 24-23, I have the Giants winning this one. Why?
Wow.
Because of their pass rush. We've seen Kirk Cousins have weird results when he's pressured. What's been going on? By the way, you know Wink's going to pressure. He blitzes. It's like 45% of the time. That's just what he does, right? But between Kayvon Thibodeau really coming on and Dexter Lawrence, who does not get enough love for being kind of right up there among the league's best, only trailing in he ranks maybe number 2 or number 3 in almost every single pressure metric that we have, does not get enough love, does not get enough respect or admiration for him. Between the two of them, I think it's going to be very difficult, especially if their center, who has been banged up and not playing, especially if he's not 100%, which even if he's out there, I don't know if that makes him 100%, even if he's playing.
Right. I sometimes try to come up with like a different point than Cynthia to like be diversified, but sometimes Cynthia just has the right point. And the Giants
why are
are
you so
gonna
nice
win.
to me today?
I'm just saying the Giants are winning this game, and it is because of their defensive
Wow,
line.
2 Giants picks.
I've been guilty of saying, oh, the Giants aren't that talented. They've been getting lucky. Like, look at this defensive line. It might be the most talented defensive line in the NFL. Dexter Lawrence is an all-pro. You mentioned how great Thibodeau's been. Azeez Ojulari got hurt in that first game. He's back and playing great. Like, the 4th best lineman here is Leonard Williams, who's been an all-pro in the past, too. And they're going against an offensive line who's let Kirk Cousins be hit more than any quarterback in the entire NFL. He was sacked 18 times more this season than a year ago. And Kirk's great. I hear you, Patrick. But you don't want to just get brutalized all game long. I think it's an offensive game, and I think Danny Dimes is ready for this moment.
Wow.
That's the one
Okay,
right
we're going to
there.
play that back next week. I know Patrick made this new rule on the show, no more jokes about the Vikings. I was on the Vikings website this morning, and I got to say there was something that made me really laugh. The headline on the front page of the Vikings website say, experts say close game expected. When has it not been a close game with the Vikings? When have we not expected that all season long? And I am choosing another close win by the Vikings, 24-20. They are going to continue to give Minnesotans the heart attacks that they do not deserve. One good thing here, the Giants were not able to figure out Justin Jefferson the first time that they played, and hopefully they won't do it again. Jefferson had 16 targets, 12 receptions, 133 receiving yards, most receiving yards and second most receptions allowed to a player by the New York Giants this year. That is the wrong person to let run wild all over the field, so hopefully he's able to do it again. Okay, it's time for Pizza pre-game predictions presented by Little Caesars. Can you show it the other people?
This is a
Patrick
peace
walked
sign.
in and said, I think this is a bread knot.
I thought this was a piece of crazy bread
Like-
because I love crazy bread. It's a peace sign.
We had a good laugh. Okay, we all rode with the Bengals last week against the Ravens. Not sure much has changed in the last 7 days, but let's check and find out. Greg?
I am changing my mind that it's going to be close. I think this week the Ravens defense keeps the Bengals score low. It's 20-16. Bengals win the game, but the Ravens defense will be the toughest matchup this Bengals offense faces in the entire postseason. I think they are built to stop the Bengals. And what I mean by that is they have a lot of fast, rangy, athletic players in their secondary. Whether it's Marcus Williams, who you brought in, Kyle Hamilton, Chuck Clark, Marcus Peters is returning for this game. They have just so many different options that they can take away the players on the perimeter. When I watched this Bengals-Ravens game a week ago, I was kind of stunned that the Ravens defense gave it to him. Now, Tyler Huntley's starting at quarterback for the Ravens, we assume, and I don't think they'll score enough to keep up, and the Bengals are a great, great team, but I think this is a big-time challenge playing a division opponent again.
So I have a 7-point win, 26-19 in this matchup for the Bengals. I'm looking at the right side of the, is that right? Whatever. the right side of their O-line where La'el Collins isn't. And then there's even more injuries now. So when I'm looking at Joe Burrow and what's going on with the sack situation for him, people say very nicely he's turned into kind of more of a checking down quarterback, which is a good thing because you don't get sacked as often. Only 41 sacks in the regular season, which is down from 10, more 51 last season. So he's also not taking as many sacks. I just think that with this rebuilt O-line, who actually has been playing better, it's going to be a much bigger challenge against this defense, and it's something that going into further in the playoffs, I got a special eye on that one. I'm a little concerned about it. I want Joe Burrow to be upright, please.
Yes, I like upright quarterbacks. I wish number 8 was playing for the Baltimore Ravens. You guys know the trend. No Lamar, no me, as far as I'm concerned. And I don't know why we thought a quarterback with torn ligaments was going to be making a quick bounce back in playing in the regular season or the playoffs. But the running back, J.K. Dobbins, is the reason that I think the Baltimore Ravens are going to get 17 points at all. I have it 28-17. Bengals in not a close game, but if you're looking at a game for daily fantasy purposes, in weeks 14 through 17, J.K. Dobbins led the NFL in rushing. Took week 18 off because rest is good. It's something that helps when you're not playing football
Brandon
to be
Staley
rested.
disagrees.
Yeah. Who?
It's too sad. Let's not talk about that.
Yeah, it's nice to have rest. And I think J.K. Dobbins is going to have a good week after a week of rest.
You said no Lamar, no me. How about no Lamar, no me? Sorry about that. I'm going Bengals big time, 30-10. You know what could be interesting here to think about, though? All of these Ravens players who are going to be left behind by Lamar not playing, whether he's choosing to do it or because he's actually very much hurt. We were just discussing this in the commercial break. They might have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. The past few weeks, everyone has been counting the Ravens out because they've not had Lamar Jackson as their quarterback. They've had backups. I could see them playing a little bit into overdrive to be like, we're here too. We still got into the playoffs.
Bengals have been talking a lot of trash
MIA the last
this
2
week.
years.
A lot of trash coming out of
has?
Cincinnati. The Bengals talking that smack.
But it is a bummer because otherwise this game is gold.
Yeah.
AFC North.
I would have
come
picked
on.
Baltimore.
Yeah. It is time for In It to Win It, presented by Intuit TurboTax. We kicked off our very first show this year talking about Bucs Cowboys. It was a clean sweep for Tampa back in week 1. Patrick, who do you like this time around?
I like the Dallas Cowboys in this matchup, and there's been so much discussion about Dak Prescott and his predilection for throwing interceptions. Since Dak came back, he left that game in week 1. The Cowboys have had the #1 offense in the NFL. They've scored 32 points per game. I'm not worried about the interceptions, but what I do think that we will get is Dak running the ball in the postseason, especially considering the problems that the defense has had since early December when Anthony Brown left that secondary. Dan Quinn has struggled to replace him. They've gone to the streets to pick up and sign some guys to play cornerback. I think Dallas is going to score 25 points, and I think they're going to need every single one of them at a 25-24 win in Tampa.
Ooh, sometimes the show is predictable, and it's me and Patrick defending Dak Prescott's honor, zigging while the rest of the country is zagging. I'm taking the Cowboys as well, 21-20. Dak Prescott's the best quarterback in this game. It hurts me to say that as a longtime Patriots fan and Brady fan, but Dak Prescott's average game is better than Brady's average game. Dak Prescott's best game is way better at this point than Tom Brady's best game. EPA per play since Dak Prescott returned. That's offensive efficiency. The Cowboys are 5th. The Bucs are 18th. I look at all the things Dak can do, not only with his legs, but before the snap, and I think he's not going to get pressured. And the numbers when Dak Prescott does not get pressured, and the Bucs do not have much of a pass rush since losing Shaq Barrett, are outrageous. Dak Prescott gets it done.
Well, so far you guys have picked 1-point wins, and I'll keep that trend going. But the other side, the Bucs in this one, 24-23. Man America.
There we go.
He is going to pass the ball to Mike Evans. You know why? Because Man America knows how to target the correct corner, and Man America will find the corner that is not named Trayvon Diggs. They have been getting guys off of the streets, and Man America, he will find the matchup for Mike Evans, and that will be the difference maker in this one. Those deep passes to him. We saw 3 touchdowns just 2 weeks ago, and you know what? I think we see that again. Chris Godwin also very, very good, but Man America to Mike Evans, that's what I like to see.
Okay, so for those of you that are just tuning in, I meant to call Tom Brady Mr. America. I called him Man America instead. And you know what? We're going to go with it.
It's the best.
It's gonna
Man
stick.
America's great.
It's a great nickname.
No, it's a really
This
good
one.
nickname.
I'm on the Bucks as well. I'm taking the Bucks.
Man
I have the bigger score,
America.
27 and 24. I think this might be a little bit higher scoring. It's Tom Brady. It's in Tampa. He has never lost to the Cowboys before. And after the bye, in this latter half of the season, after the Cowboys put up like a 50-burger on the Colts, and then they were favored by a lot in that next game against the Texans. Remember, we called it a cheese game. Don't take the cheese. They kept that game very close. They lost to the Jags. They lost to the Commanders. There's been some weird games for the Cowboys here in the second half of the season. There are holes, okay? And Brady is going to expose them. Man America all the way.